Welcome to the 2021 City of Gloucester Councilor At-Large Candidate Forum here at Gloucester High School. Tonight's forum is presented by the Greater Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Council. My name is Bob Visnick, and I was chosen for this because I live in Rockport, so I am somewhat safe here. Don't forget, we are here to hear the candidates and to vote next week on November 2nd. I'd like to thank 1623 Studios, who is live streaming this forum. And for the hearing impaired, automated captions will be available on the recording of the forum, which can be viewed at a later date on the 1623 Studios YouTube channel. The school's COVID regulations require masks for everybody, except for the candidates and I while speaking. I'd like to thank you this evening to our sponsors who helped make this night possible. The presenting sponsor, Amanda Armstrong Group of Compass Real Estate. The gold sponsors, Ruth Pino of Remax 360 and Cape Ann Savings Bank. And the silver sponsor, the Greater Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Council Member, Bob Gillis. Don't forget right now, candidates and audience, to shut off or to mute your cell phone. And I'm going to now explain the format. The candidates are seated here, and they're seated in a socially distant way so that they can, in fact, take off their masks. We're going to have them speak in alphabetical order by their last name, and the order of responses is going to move in sequence among the candidates following the first question. There will be no opening statements. I'll read their very brief bio. Each candidate will have 75 seconds. That's the year I graduated high school. That's why we did that. To answer each question at my discretion, I will allow a candidate a little bit of additional time to finish their point. We have a timekeeper up front who will give a 15-second warning and a stop sign with the handheld signs. And then for a closing statement, each candidate will also have 75 seconds for their statement, and they will go in reverse order, beginning with candidate 7. We think there'll be time for at least 3 or 4 questions. Depending upon the length of the answers, we have more questions and we'll keep going. The questions have been developed by the Greater Cape Ann Chamber's Government Affairs Council with input from the community and the Gloucester High School students. Here we go with their bios. Peter Canavo, born and raised in Gloucester and graduated from Gloucester High School. He continued his education at Wentworth Institute of Technology and currently serves on the Zoning Board of Appeals. He is the vice president of a local nonprofit called the Gloucester Boxing Club, which provides a service for our youth. He is also a foreman for the local chapter of the Bricklayers Union. Peter is seeking election to his first term on the city council. He and his wife are the parents of 2 sons, and they reside in West Gloucester. Tony Gross is a lifelong Gloucester resident, recently retired. He worked as a commercial fisherman and was captain of multiple vessels. He also worked in construction and was facilities manager at Gloucester's wastewater treatment facility. He was a member of the Gloucester School Committee for 13 years and has been a lifelong member of the Waterways Board. He's long time. Keep on it. He is currently a member of the Municipal Harbor Plan Committee. He also volunteers at the Open Door, helping with curbside service and home delivery. He and his wife, Abby, are the parents of 2 children. Jason Grow. Yes, please raise your hand as I read your bio. Jason is a long-time resident of Gloucester. He has been a professional photographer for 32 years as a photojournalist and a corporate and editorial portraitist. He has a BA in journalism from San Francisco State University. Mr. Grow previously served 2 terms as a Ward 1 city councilor and was the chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee. He and his wife, Sarah, are parents of 3 children, all graduates of the Gloucester Public School System. Carl McKay. He is a lifelong resident of Gloucester and a graduate of Gloucester High School. He attended North Shore Community College and has been employed locally in the food service industry for over 40 years on Cape Ann. A longtime local community activist, Mr. McKay has advocated for elder services, veteran support, and many other causes, and has also addressed citywide issues, including infrastructure needs. He has also volunteered extensively working in crisis situations and fundraising for many local charitable organizations. Jamie O'Hara. Jamie has served the citizens and taxpayers of Gloucester for 3 terms, or 6 years, as an at-large counselor. He earned his bachelor's degree from Wentworth Institute of Technology. He has worked in the construction industry for his entire career and has been a business owner employing many Gloucester residents for 18 years. Mr. O'Hara lives in Magnolia and is seeking re-election to his 4th term on the Gloucester City Council. Robin Hubbard. Robin was born and raised in Gloucester and is a graduate of Gloucester High School. After attending an Outward Bound program on Hurricane Island in Maine, she enlisted in the U.S. Air Force and studied Russian at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. Later, she attended a state university in California using the GI Bill. After a few years of working in the financial services industry as a registered representative, she was a stay-at-home mother. Previously a candidate for mayor, she is now running for an at-large seat on the City Council to give back to her community and be involved in public service. She resides in West Gloucester. Jeff Worthley. He is a lifelong resident of Gloucester and a Gloucester High School graduate. He earned a bachelor's degree from Salem State University and attended the United States Chamber of Commerce Institute for Organizational Management. Try to say that 3 times. He served 2 terms on the Gloucester City Council, one as an at-large city councilor, and then 1 term as a Ward 3 city councilor. He was the chairperson of the council's Planning and Development Committee. He is a single father of 2 children in the Gloucester school system, and for the past 13 years has been self-employed, running his own financial services business. Jeff previously worked for the Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce. He has served on the Chamber's Downtown Parking Committee, the city's Downtown Development Commission, and the Gloucester Tourism Commission, the North of Boston Convention and Visitors Bureau, and a variety of other boards that serve residents and business owners alike. Without any further ado, we are going to go right to the questions. Question number 1, and we will start with Peter. This is a zoning for housing question. The Chamber's Government Affairs Council has identified affordable workforce housing as a priority need for all Cape Ann communities. In a recent visit, the state's Housing and Economic Development Secretary said Massachusetts is in a housing crisis. To help produce more housing, state law was recently changed to allow zoning changes by majority vote of the City Council. What zoning changes will you support to help meet Gloucester's housing needs?
Thank you for all coming out tonight. Thank you for the Chamber of Commerce, Bob, all the organizers put this together. Right now, I think the City of Gloucester is doing a great job elevating that affordable housing need. Recently, they put an amendment to 5.24 ADU. That's going to allow a second unit dwelling on a property that doesn't have to be tied to a family member. There's other ways we can continue to elevate this. I think Gloucester's been going in the right direction. Continue to partner with Hubbard, Action, the Housing Authority. I believe we can hit those marks. So working with the local ordinance, it'll be able to create more opportunity for real affordable housing. And serving on the zoning board, it gives me more insight on the process and the steps. So I believe I can hold some value to the council when it comes before us. Thank you.
Tony, and if, by the way, if you need me to repeat the question, I'll be glad to do that. Just let me know.
Question's affordable housing, basically, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, the accessory building zoning ordinance that was recently enacted was a big help for particularly families, so that the younger the children of families can actually afford to stay on the property but have their own sense of independence while they share the building with their parents. That's a good one. We also need to increase ways to fund the Affordable Housing Trust. Gloucester used to build affordable housing, and there's several around the city. All the old schools became affordable housing, and I think we need to utilize that a little bit more than we do. It's kind of considered a loophole for developers to be able to buy out of supplying affordable housing, but I think we need to keep what's in place for that, and then also expand on other ways to increase funding into that fund. Thank you.
And by the way, my order of presentation is how you are seating in a W. So we now go to Jason.
Yep, thank you. I think Peter touched on a lot of good points. I think the planning board has been doing an excellent job in terms of enacting the housing production plan. I think we could be a little bit more aggressive perhaps in scrubbing through some of the zoning ordinances to see if there are places where we can allow greater density of houses. We certainly have to be much more encouraging of affordable housing projects, partnerships with Harbor Light, but we also need to be looking at housing that is lowercase affordable in the sense that we develop workforce housing so that people who want to come and live in Gloucester can do that and work here. Again, the housing production plan has got some great suggestions in there. I think they've reduced some of the thresholds for affordable down to the 60% AMI, which I think is a step in the right direction. I think we could be a lot more aggressive in terms of some of our density issues. That the 2-family by right is great where appropriate. There may be places where 3-family by right is also appropriate, and we have to be willing to look at those.
Thank you. Robin.
Hi. The accessory building allowance that was just recently created was a step in the right direction. It gives people who live here and own property here and have auxiliary units on their property an opportunity to legally use them. I could support well-thought-out efforts as long as the neighbors and residents support the efforts in terms of workforce housing, particularly in EV zoning areas. However, I need to elaborate on that. Gloucester is a big place, and I really have to stress that the neighbors and the residents have to support it if I'm going to support it. Let me elaborate. Gloucester is a big place and presently can't afford to maintain its current infrastructure. Roads, buildings, sidewalks, parkland, schools, as we all know. May I suggest we consider finding a way to take proper care of the streets and infrastructure that supports the existing housing stock in all the precincts, sidewalks, storm drains, potholes, etc., before we consider a larger build-out of properties that will eventually be subject to the same neglect.
Same question to you, Carl.
This touches my heart daily. I've spoken to a lot of people in the city, and they're just being priced out. A lot of this has to do with our landlords having to raise the rent due to the tax increases in the city. Everything is interconnected. And when we raise our taxes and our water and our sewer rates, which are the highest in this country, just about, we're forcing them out. And the transportation with the train construction, with people coming from out of town to work in town during the day is just been a major hassle for them. I believe, we built this big, huge complex, Hallard Apartments, and there was only a certain amount allowed in there for affordable. How does a single parent with 2 kids afford $2,600 a month, heat, hot water, and all the rest of the utilities? I need to fight for the middle class. We need to keep our taxes down rather than keep going up. We need to make the city more affordable for everybody.
Jamie.
Thank you. As a city councilor trying to keep the city as affordable and being cognizant that people need to live here and be able to afford to live here. It's a balancing act, keeping the costs down as a city councilor, understanding that a city councilor is a servant of the people, that we have to respect what's going on out there. We can expand the city, but our roads were designed for horse and buggy, and to put additional housing, we have to put these vehicles someplace. Parking is an enormous issue, as we see all over the city. You can say that you're going to put additional housing, but everyone today has 1 or 2 vehicles. These vehicles have to be placed someplace. So as a city council, we have to keep that in mind from the zoning standpoint, but most importantly, keeping the city as affordable and working for the citizens of our beautiful city. Thank you.
Jeff.
Thank you, Bob. My name is Jeff Worthley. I served 4 years in the City Council, 4 of which were on the Planning and Development Subcommittee. I can't disagree with any of the candidates here with the overall value of affordable housing, but there are 4 specific ways a City Councilor can affect the housing costs in Gloucester. One is through the zoning ordinance itself and through permitting. Now, when I was in the council, there was a lot of talk about this, and it was myself and Abdullah Kambadi, God rest his soul, who put together the Zoning Ordinance Review Task Force. And there are 3 tenets of that. One of them specifically was to find ways to make housing more affordable in Gloucester. Turns out the whole zoning code needs to probably be looked at. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but there's a lot that needs to be fixed with the whole code. And I do know the code of ordinances inside and out. The second way that Carl mentioned is taxes, water rates, sewer rates, fees, right across the board. Every single chance the city gets to raise taxes and tax nickel and dime residents, the city does. We need to be cognizant of the impact that has on every single person in Gloucester. The third way is to collaborate with the state and work with nonprofits and work with all the organizations that support affordable housing. And the last way that I think all of us should be talking about more is we can't necessarily build our way out of this. We need to help build the kind of job base that people can have jobs that can afford the houses in Gloucester. And that's a role a city council can and should play. I'm ready to start that job January 1st.
Okay, we will start with Tony on question number 2, which is about energy, environment, and coastal resilience. This question was submitted by the Cape Ann Climate Coalition. Recently, Gloucester received a grant to write a formal climate action plan. What priority initiatives do you believe should be included in this plan, and how will you ensure that the citizens of Gloucester have a voice in the planning process?
Well, first off, I think we need to deal with the sustainability issue and how we deal with the climate change and rising sea level. That's a major force there. The City Council can deal with that through zoning regulations, and I agree that we definitely need to relook at all of our regulations. When I was chair of the Waterways Board, we revamped all of our regulations there, and I'm no stranger to relooking at, and because the world's evolved since a lot of these things were done. What was your second part?
What priority initiatives do you believe should be included in the formal climate action plan, and how will you ensure that the citizens of Gloucester have a voice in the planning process?
Well, the climate action plan, I believe, should have something about emissions controls and renewable energies. And we've already started on the path of renewable energies with the 3 windmills and the state subsidized solar program that was Gloucester took great advantage of, the residents did. So I believe that, and also I see Kate is also testing out new electrical buses, and I think we should try to get all of our fleet into the electric, be an all-electric fleet for our city. Would be helpful.
Thank you. Jason.
Thank you. I think you're going to see a lot of similarities in our answers here. Obviously, we have to consider where Gloucester is going to be in 20, 30, 50 years in terms of where we build, how we build, and what kind of structures we're going to allow on the waterfront. throughout the entire island, not just downtown, but in residential and private building. Moving towards an all-electric fleet of vehicles is something I think is well within the capability of the city. We have the need to make sure that we plan for the rising tides, rising sea levels, and in terms of where we place our infrastructure and how we approach the need to build levees and other barrier projects. Obviously, anything we can do to commit the city to sustainable energy programs ought to be done, whether it's tapping into more wind power, more solar power. These are things that are well within our capabilities, and we should be doing everything possible in that vein to do that.
Thank you. Robin.
Gloucester is beautiful, so my impression is that people who live here innately respect and treasure its environment and natural beauty and protect it. In terms of renewable energies, well, the entire country is well along on that path. Electric vehicles, electric buses, windmills, nuclear even. The climate resilience as it affects the coast, that puzzles me because I'm pretty sure almost all of our coastline is privately owned. And that would be a private liability. That's the way I see that anyway. However, the infrastructure, the roads that service the buildings and dwellings along the coastline are in many cases public. So we will need to address the low-lying roads, and we all know where they are, that will eventually be underwater.
Alrighty. Carl.
Well, first of all, every voice will be heard as far as I'm concerned, and this is why I've gotten into this race. My question is, we should actually have more solar panels on all our city buildings. Why we don't, as of yet, is beyond me. There's so many grants out there that we could be receiving to do that, to place, especially right here on top of the roof of the school. As far as windmills go, I'm not sure I'm in favor of having them right off our Gloucester coast. I'd have to look into that pretty much a little bit more. Actually, with the tourist season, maybe working together with people to bring their bikes so there's less congestion on our city streets and the emissions that are being let go downtown. As far as the climate along with that is, what are we building on our waterfront? Are we looking to, how are we going to support that with climate change? We need to really take a close look at this before we start building all these new structures downtown and changing the outlook of the city. We need a plan. The citizens need, along with me, to come up with a plan to better our system.
Thank you. Jamie.
Thank you. As a city councilor, it's protecting our assets that we have existing, such as this school, this beautiful school that we're in, Gloucester High School. We've been flooded out a number of times because of high tides. We have to look at the reality of that. We've entered into contracts to put in sheet piling walls. With that said, these contracts have to be bulletproof. We have to have engineers. We have to stand behind our purchasing department, that we have a plan that is going to do what they say. Putting in a sheet pile wall to keep water away. Well, when the storm hits, is that really going to happen? Asking those questions, because these projects are going to be very, very, very expensive, and this is your tax dollars at work. So protecting these assets, the sewer treatment plant, we're looking at major expenditures, building a new sewer treatment plant, preserving the land that we have for building new structures, and building structures that we adapt to the vehicle traffic, such as the new school that's being built on Webster Street. What are we going to do with all the cars that are coming on that project? So as a city councilor, I will stand up for the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Thank you, Bob. So firstly, I will also agree with the other candidates that we need to think globally and act locally. And that's why I've always supported the initiatives of recycling and green energy and the wind turbines, and we can continue to do those sorts of things. But as far as the existential issue right now, in terms of the real risk to our city, we need to look closely at our lowlands permitting. We need to look at our seawalls and work with the state to get funding to build up our seawalls. We need to enact a beach restoration project. Anybody who goes to Good Harbor Beach at high tide realizes it is a fraction of what it used to be, and it's going to get worse. So we need to take the sand that's left. This is all legal and it's all permitted. It's been done in Newburyport, Plum Island, to get the sand back on the beach, to change the topography so we don't have our beach long gone in a few years. I think we need to work with our Conservation Commission, specifically at areas of environmental concern. And I also think, as Jamie O'Hara mentioned with the flooding, we need to look at our emergency response to these sorts of things, because it's going to happen, and we need to be prepared to help people evacuate those sorts of places when it does happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Peter.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. The question is about energy, environment, and coastal resilience. Recently, Gloucester received a grant to write a formal climate action plan. What priority initiatives do you believe should be included in that plan? And how will you ensure that the citizens of Gloucester have a voice in that process?
So Gloucester's, again, going in the right direction when it comes to being environmentally friendly. I believe they're looking to hire a sustainability director. That department right there will oversee the needs that we need to lower our carbon footprint. We also need to prioritize our coastal line. We need to look at the water treatment plant and the high school. And with my background in construction, I would vet these projects and ensure that these projects are done correctly and on time and within budget. Again, we need to invest in more renewable energy, but we look around and we say, well, what are we going to do? We can start by partnering with the right people. Like if you look at Linsky's old dump site, it's just sitting there. We can make a solar panel farm right there, and we can save a lot of money just from the energy costs. And those funds that we save, we can redirect that back into infrastructure. It's a no-brainer. And Kyle hit it right on the head. Why don't we have more solar panels on municipal buildings and whatnot? So we need to identify environmental vulnerability opportunities. We need to identify and recognize the preservation of our beaches and marshes and provide a buffer for storms and floods, which is critical, and ensure we engage with the community. We need to have everybody's opinion and voices involved. That's the only way we can move forward together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this next question, we're going to start with Jason, and it is about support for local business. Gloucester's business community, comprised largely of independent entrepreneurs, has shown tremendous resilience and creativity in response to the pandemic. Please share your ideas on how the city can best serve and support local businesses as they navigate the post-COVID new normal. What do you see as the role of city government in fostering a healthy and vibrant business climate?
You had to ask me that question. First off, I want to show off my Turtle Alley mask there. The fact that our businesses have been so resilient during this COVID crisis is great testimony to the people who've been running them and keeping them alive, along with employing the employees they've done. I think the increase that we've seen in outdoor dining, while originally was a health issue, has become a real, I think, a bonus for downtown Gloucester in terms of just the life and energy of the city. I think that the City Council can, and there's nothing really directly that I can think of that specifically says we can help small businesses other than to encourage and the support and the efforts to make sure that people do support local businesses. I'm sorry, I don't have a much better answer than that, to be honest with you.
Okay, we move on to Robin.
It was a difficult time during COVID, and we pulled through, and a lot of people went out of their way to support the local businesses. We bought takeout if we could afford it and brought it home, kept some people going. My understanding is downtown Main Street has long suffered with vacancies and lack of consumers. I believe the hotel has brought in some new consumers, new tourists, new journeyers. But the code of ordinances might be too restrictive. I think there are people in this city who have ideas about maybe more peddlers, more open markets, more transient types of pop-ups, which I think is kind of a sexy idea. But I think our codes are a little rigid and perhaps maybe need to be addressed and loosened so commerce improves.
Thank you. Carl.
That's a perfect question for me. As you all know, in the past year, I have actually advocated for the downtown businesses 100%. I've visited every establishment, if not once, if not twice, to support them. I put up videos, signage, anything I could do to support the downtown businesses. I adore all them things, all the businesses. But I do not, I'm kind of great on this pop-up. Everybody keeps talking about pop-up shops. Okay, but this is a short-term Band-Aid fix. We need to talk with these landlords and businesses to find a way that we can get them in here and keep them here. Sabathia said last night about buying the bank building, and that would bring government more into the downtown area. That would bring a lot of the workers from the city into the downtown area. And the other thing is we got to work on this parking situation. We need to better the trolley service. Bring the cars out of downtown with the tourists and have them ride the trolley. Not only that, they get to see the rest of the beautiful city that we live in. And the other thing is you look at the museum. Well, the minute I found out it was just going to be a steel wall there, I advocated to help them find a solution to make it more attractive for the millions of people that come by all the time. You're sitting in traffic, you're looking at a steel building. I drove to all these other communities, and the welcoming that you get when you go into a city makes people want to stay and spend their money. And I'm very grateful to the Cape Ann Museum for altering the back of the building with those. And I will be there for anybody who wants to try and find a way to put a business downtown.
Thank you. Jamie.
Thank you. It's taxes. We need to bring business taxes back in plane with the residential. Right now, businesses are paying a higher rate. We have less businesses. Businesses are leaving. Everything that a business has to look at is water and sewer rates, fees, inspectional service fees. We have to keep those low. Obviously, one of our largest employers, being Gorton's, has truck traffic, ton of truck traffic. We have to accommodate that through our roads. Again, reverting back to Eastern Ave, Webster Street, the new school, where are we going to put traffic? So we have to be cognizant of that as a city. As far as the parking, downtown parking garage, I've worked with Cater to see if they could put a trolley in place on the evenings to bring people in and let them park at O'Malley School or someplace off-site and bring them downtown to allow for more people to experience the downtown, and also looking at Main Street. No one knows where Main Street is from the visitor's standpoint. We do, they don't. We need to look at the flow of traffic. We have to be proactive. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff.
Thank you, Bob. So the first role for government, before we get to fostering a positive business environment, is to get the heck out of the way in terms of all the layers of regulation and permitting, not to discredit the role that neighbors have in the process, but there's such an excessive amount of regulation, it is hard to open a business in Gloucester. So that's role number one. The government that governs the least governs best. That's my opinion. Thank you. I think to Jamie's point, we should have a fair tax code that doesn't discriminate against business owners. When I ran for mayor in 2005, I proposed, it may have been a little aggressive, 1,000 new moorings in Gloucester Harbor, Inner Harbor, Annisquam area. And I was told that there wasn't room for one more mooring. Well, since then, we've added 250 moorings. And with that, we're adding people who are literally walking wallets. They're people, they have hearts, they have brains, but they're literally walking wallets. They come in, they get dropped off, and they don't have cars, they don't have traffic, they don't have trash, they don't put any demand on the police and the fire department, and they are spending a lot of money in Gloucester. We need a second launch service. We can't get them to our shore quickly enough. Those are some specific ways. We need to work with our artists. When I worked with the Chamber of Commerce, we didn't have a real solid place for artists to fit in the programs we had. So I worked with Joanne Castano, and we launched the Society for the Encouragement of the Arts, C-Arts, and those kind of programs. I'm getting the stop sign. I've got about 6 or 7 other specific ways, but we can talk about those in January, I guess. Thank you.
All right. Peter.
Repeat the question again.
The question is, support for local business. Gloucester's business community, comprised largely of independent entrepreneurs, has shown tremendous resilience and creativity in response to the pandemic. Please share your ideas on how the city can best serve and support local businesses as they navigate the new post-COVID new normal. What do you see as the role of city government in fostering a healthy and vibrant business climate?
Well, I think one of the ways we can help downtown small businesses is work with our licensing board and community development board. We can pass more liquor license for restaurants year-round. That'll want to attract more people to stay downtown. And it'll also provide jobs in the shoulder season, because that's where we're losing a lot of our tourists is in the shoulder season. So if we have more year-round restaurants opening and dining, it's going to entice people to want to come down and spend more time and eat and conversate and get back to that normalcy that we were missing. Other ways we can also generate our local economy or boost is we can target some of that ARPA money and create a grant fund for business opportunity. Some of these people want to come and start a new business, but if they can have an opportunity to procure some grants through the ARPA money, that'll help jumpstart our local economy. Another thing too, I think, is we need to look at some of the trash issue downtown. And, you know, if you go just on the outskirts of downtown, some of the convenience stores and stuff like that, there's a lot of trash. And, you know, if you're a tourist coming in, you kind of look at that and you're like, you know what, I don't want to hang out here too much longer. So I think it's important not only to help the businesses, but keep it clean and make Gloucester downtown the beautiful place that it is.
Thank you. And Tony.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the best way to support the downtown businesses is to get more traffic, more foot traffic going by them. You know, I've been chair of the Waterways Board the last 9 years, and one of our charges was to have a gateway into the city via the water, which allowed us to have more people come in without any traffic or parking issues. And this year we had a very successful year. We had over 1,900 vessels come and anchor here or more overnight, and that, you figure two people per boat, that's about 4,000 people that came to downtown that were not here. And these people do have a lot of disposable income. They're the exact people that we want to have come to downtown. You know, beachgoers come, but, you know, they might stop at Charlie's or, you know, something, but they're not necessarily coming to downtown. And I think that was a big improvement that I helped usher through. I also think that, you know, the outdoor dining has been a real successful and positive thing for the city, but I think we need to get rid of the bump outs so that we can replace the parking spaces that were displaced by the outdoor dining. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Robin, this next one is going to come to you. The City of Gloucester has received substantial amount of unrestricted funding from the federal and state government. This has been described as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the city to address unmet needs and shape its future. Please tell us your priorities for the use of these funds and the process that the City Council should use to determine how best to allocate them.
I have been listening to the mayoral debates, and I was under the impression that someone was hired to distribute the funds. I'm not sure what the city council's role is. However, if it comes before the city council, what needs to be done? Well, there's a long list. We could prioritize it. I'm not sure this recovery money can be used for infrastructure, but I would focus on infrastructure and road repair because it would make so many people happy. I mean, people would be so pleased if just the potholes were filled in this city. You'd have happy people in the city. Another issue I would imagine would be, and it kind of piggybacks on the last question, we have, with Gloucester Crossing, we have a peripheral of shops now, and they're not all centrally located. And some of these shops, I mean, we've got a hotel now, we've got a hotel, it's there. They need to be in a place where people can walk to, pedestrian traffic can get to. I think better planning, and there's an awful lot. Potholes, and I'm very serious about that. Then you have happy people everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl.
So, first of all, I'd like to incorporate something on the DPW's website that states where the construction in the city is taking place every day. So I spent 20 minutes the other day just trying to get around the corner to help one of my elders. And no matter which way you went, it was blocked off with different constructions. To me, it would make common sense just for a resident every day to look at that website, see where that is, so they can get their kids to school on time, so they can get to their job on time. We know where the police officers are going to be on the detail, so I don't understand why it would be that hard to take care of. Now, we're also getting $23 million sent to us. Why are we in a rush to spend this? Can we hold on to it? Can we return it to our citizens somehow? We need to really look at that. I mean, that would be a great across-the-board tax break for everybody. But we're in such a hurry to spend it on nilly-willy stuff that what is the rush for that? We need to benefit these citizens of Gloucester with the funding that we are getting. Don't just get a grant so we can spend it. Let's have a plan on where this money is going to go and how we are going to spend it.
Jamie.
Thank you. This is not free money. This is taxpayers' money. We will all ultimately end up paying that back. So with that said, we have to look at where it is going to be spent. Our infrastructure as the city has worked at rebuilding our water and sewer, spending this money so that the taxpayers don't have to pay more. We have all kinds of places. One place we can't be spending that money is employees. We need to keep that money being utilized for our taxpayers. As has been mentioned, roads. Our roads are not in great shape, particularly the private roads. That's a touchy subject, but we have private roads all over the city. Most of the roads that we drive on are private, and yet the people who live in front of those roads are having to pay. A good example is Beach Road, the golf course. Everyone drives on it. That is a private road. So we have to work with the state, hopefully to find a means and a method to use public funds to rebuild private roads that the public drives on. Corliss Landing up at Wheelers Point is another example. This goes on and on. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff.
Thank you, Bob. So firstly, we should have a fiscal policy that's very clear that we never take one-time money and purchase things that have recurring expenses associated with it, because that's how we get into problems that last for generations. Secondly, we are supposed to have a capital improvement advisory board, and it's supposed to be populated with people whose goal it is to do exactly what Carl is suggesting and have a plan on where we're going to spend the money. That board does not function right now. It is not filled with anybody. The council has to lead, obviously it's appointments by the mayor, but we need to push whatever button we can to make sure that board is filled. And then we can develop the plan that can be the plan, the outline for where this money is going to be spent. I'm going to echo what Robin and Jamie has said. Our roads are in rough shape, but we talk about it What we really need to do is, and I have a proposal for the DPW director already, to literally go to every road and give it a ranking. And the ones that are the worst, we start there, we make them, we fix the roads, and we make them public after that. Every year after that point, we then get state funding to maintain those roads, but you can use that money, maintain other roads, just a revolving fund that you can hold the money, and so then we just work backwards, and right now, we have private roads that are in great shape. We should start a plan to accept them as public roads and start getting funding for those. So it's really using that money to fund things that are recurring, bringing us more support and more revenue over time. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
So Carl mentioned before, water, sewers, taxes are like amongst one of the highest. So as far as priority, I think we want to focus on with the water treatment plant, because that's going to end up coming out of our pocket. And whatever we can do to lower that cost is going to benefit our tax dollars. Because at the end of the day, it's going to happen, and it has to happen. So whatever we can do to cut that cost down, I think will benefit the taxpayers in this community. Looking into infrastructure, taking portions of this fund, and like they mentioned, it's a one-time use, so we have to be smart about it. We have to have a comprehensive plan. We can't just go spend it. However, I believe there is a time limit. We can't just hold on to it forever. So I think the gears are in motion with the city right now, and I would continue to endorse the ideas that they have. And any percent of that money that we can actually use to promote any of those programs that took hard hits during the pandemic that are on the cusp of closing, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a small business, we can look to see if that fund can help support them in any way they can, because I know they're going to need it just as much as everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Tony.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. The City of Gloucester has received substantial amounts of unrestricted funding from the federal and state government. Please tell us your priorities for the use of these funds and the process the City Council should use to determine how best to allocate them.
Well, the City Council has a big role in this because they approve all of the expenditures of the city. They don't develop them, but they do approve them. So I agree that one-time money should never be used for ongoing costs. Roads is figuring out how to turn as many private roads into public roads is something we definitely need to look into, and that should be one of the big priorities, because that's a lot of the private roads are in becoming quite degraded. As Peter said, the wastewater treatment plant, that's an immediate, I don't know if it's shovel ready, but it's an immediate need that should be used for. That's a one-time expenditure that would, if we had to take the loan out for it, that would be a long-term expense for the citizens of Gloucester. So I believe that should be that project or projects very similar to that.
Thank you. And Jason.
In listening to the answers that have come so far, and I'm thinking about my last atrocious answer on how we support small businesses, it comes to mind that there's maybe a misconception about what the council does and what the council can do. While we can support a lot of efforts that are put forward by the administration, ultimately, as Tony pointed out, we are sort of the approval mechanism. So where we might have priorities on how we want to allocate, we're not the ones who are going to be allocating the money. So our job is to work with the mayor and the administration in coming up with a plan that addresses how to dispose of $23 million in the most productive way for the community. Absolutely agree with the concept that we don't spend one-time money on recurring expenses, though there are things that we can do in terms of shoring up areas of the social safety net. We can address issues that are maybe lacking in the schools in terms of certain kinds of staffing and programs that might be needed. We certainly have plenty of infrastructure that needs to be addressed, but the council role in a lot of this stuff is to be advisory and collaborative, but we are primarily at the response of what the administration is putting forward and trying to make that better.
Thank you. Okay, we have, I believe, time for one more question. And we will start with Carl. This is the vision question. Gloucester is celebrating its 400th anniversary in 2023. just over 1 year from now. Please describe your vision for Gloucester 10 years from now, and tell us what you would do, what you would focus on in the next 2 years in order to achieve that vision.
I see Gloucester as one of the most beautiful places you could live. I always write, live where you live, love where you live where you love. My vision is to not have a massive structure on our waterfront blocking our beautiful harbor. I see more if you, now don't get me wrong, I'm all for the arts, I'm all for culture. Let's use a tent out there so we can have little push carts or gardens and people can actually walk out to the water and see that beautiful paint factory. Housing on the waterfront. Now we got to look at the height requirements with the new regulations. Are we going to now give the private homes a better height restriction than before? They lose their first floor with the new restrictions. Then that's going to block the views from houses and it's just going to be a very tough situation with how do you fight this height restriction but give a height restriction to somebody else. As far as that goes, in Italy, they pushed, with the traffic situation in their towns, they pushed the traffic to the outer parts of the city and kept the main downtown area for pedestrians, bicyclists, so traffic can flow and people feel comfortable. And they just don't come to do one thing. They come and they stay and they do everything. And that's where my vision would lie.
Thank you. Jamie.
Thank you. We can look at 10 years from now, but I look at tomorrow. We have to look at protecting our taxpayers and working for our taxpayers. The continual looking at where we are putting our structures that we put students in, where we have our students going right now as far as the temporary school. We have to look at the reality is today. I love 10 years from now, but there are so many problems that we are faced with as a city right now. And everyone that I speak to as a city councilor, they all have an issue. We have to protect our harbor. Our harbor is a huge asset. So many developers want that asset. They want to put structures that probably don't belong there, but the pressure of that almighty dollar, we have to preserve our harbor. This is a huge ocean. Many people made a lot of money off our ocean, and we have to protect that. But most importantly, we have to protect our taxpayers, keeping taxes down, water and sewer rates, all the fees today. So as a city councilor, I will continue to work for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff.
Thank you, Bob. So when I first ran for city council, I was 22 years old. And now 22 years later, I'm 44, and I think I'm the second youngest candidate on the debate stage here today. I think we should be looking at 10 years from now, but we should also be looking at 20, 30, 40, and 50 years from now. And I think I'm young enough to be able to look that far ahead. The mural at City Hall says, build not for today alone, but for tomorrow as well. So as far as the vision, Gloucester residents can afford to live in Gloucester, whether they're our elderly who are being pushed out or our younger generation who can't afford to live here. There are better paying jobs in Gloucester. Our schools have improved their state standing across the board. We have better collaboration with our neighboring Cape Ann communities. Our most vulnerable citizens get the support that they need, and I mean specifically our socioeconomic challenges and our addiction issues need to be addressed. I think we have a better cooperative working relationship with the mayor's office, which has not been the case for the last 2 to 4 years on the city council. And we have safe roads that we can drive on comfortably. We don't feel like your car is going to be lost in a crater on some of our roads that are not as good as the ones we're building in Afghanistan, rehabilitating the country. The question had a two-part piece, but it says stop. What role can we play to do that? I think all of us need to be better listeners and agree that we need to work collaboratively with the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter.
Can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Sure. It's vision. What is your vision for Gloucester 10 years from now, and what would you focus on the next few years to get there?
Gloucester will continue to be rich and vibrant and welcoming. Gloucester will have some incremental change, new buildings, new faces, some new businesses, some new neighborhoods. But like I said before, I think our culture, our heritage will remain the same. We've been here for 400 years and we're not going anywhere. My hopes are that whatever Gloucester faces to any changes or adversities in the future, that we do it together. I hope we have as much participants as we can possibly have, more community engagement. That way the city moves together and doesn't leave anybody behind. That would be the right direction. As far as the next couple of years, I think we should prioritize what the city needs. We're looking at climate change. I think we need to really keep our foot on the gas with that, continue to press on our infrastructure, and support our local businesses, because these are the people day in and day out that need support. And if we can continue to keep downtown as well as the outskirts of Gloucester alive, then people will always want to come and visit our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony.
Yeah, in 10 years, I really love to see a very healthy fishing industry, being a retired commercial fisherman myself, and I've worked on the waterfront from the age of 14 and was down there all my life. My father ran a big fresh fish plant, Empire Fish. That's no longer there now, but anyway, in order to have a healthy fishing industry, we have to maintain affordable dockage. We have to be able to recruit processors here because we need to be able to attract more fish over the wharf to be able to stay vibrant and relevant. So those are two very important things that we need to do, particularly preserving the affordable dockage and tie-up spaces. And the process land side is through zoning. That's what the city council can do, plays in their part. Also, there was a very interesting GMGI, Gloucester Marine Genomics Institute, did a survey where with Mass Bio, of biotech companies around the state, and they found that Gloucester was a very desirable place to come. So, and they don't have to necessarily be located on the waterfront. They can be landside also, and I think we should be able to recruit those and get them here for some really good affordable jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason.
When my wife Sarah and I moved to Gloucester 21 years ago, we did so in part because the place that we called home at that time, San Francisco, had become so unaffordable that people like us who made their living in the arts and were rapidly being forced out of our home. What I see in 10 years, if we do nothing at all, is going to be a repeat of that, where we see that the increase in property values and the exodus of families. Gloucester's always been a community of families, and yet we're at really great risk of seeing that destroyed. I want to see a Gloucester where economic investment brings good jobs and fiscal vitality. I want a Gloucester where our children and our seniors can afford to remain in their community. I want a Gloucester that infrastructure supports the needs of families and businesses, and where we are prepared for the effects of climate change. And I want excellent schools that are well-run and properly funded. I think we have a lot on our plate, but I think it's achievable, and I think that we need to be very cognizant that Gloucester's at a tipping point right now, and we have a lot of decisions to make sure that she stays a community for families.
Thank you. And finally, Robin.
All right, well, it's going to require a plan, a good one, created by some real geniuses and implemented. Because I'm really fearful. Gloucester is attracting a lot of wealthy people, but Gloucester is not a wealthy community. We are not Cambridge. We cannot afford to build workforce housing. The city spends most of its revenues on salaries, pensions, and benefits. I was looking at the housing production plan, which was written by a group in the city. It's a 5-year plan, and it says that it predicts the population will decline. This is over the next 10 years, and households will increase. So if the population declines and households increases, think about that. And the average age of the population By 2030, will be 60% of us will be over 60. It's incredible. So I don't even know why we're building schools when I read stuff like that. I really don't. We really, really need some geniuses to work on a plan if we want to keep the families here. And I'm fiscally conservative, and I believe Gloucester needs to live within its means, and only then will it become affordable again for working, ordinary folks.
Thank you. Okay. Take the next 31 seconds and put your thoughts together for your closing statement. We will start with Jeff and then go backwards from our first question. And we will have, each of you will have 75 seconds to do your closing remarks. Jeff is ready. Let's go.
I think that's the theme of my campaign. First of all, thank you, Bob, for moderating this, and thank you to the Greater Chamber of Commerce, for the high school for hosting us here, and for 1623 in filming this and broadcasting it. I also want to personally thank all of the candidates, each and every one of us, for running a positive, issues-oriented campaign. Our residents deserve that. We each deserve that from each other. We are very lucky that any combination of the four of us that gets elected, the city is in better shape, and I mean that for everybody on the stage. I also know that I can work with each of you. And so that's the kind of place where I think that I can make the biggest difference. Councilor Hara asked me about 4 years ago if I could do a new council orientation hearing or meeting. It was a half-day event where I taught councilors how to be a city councilor. How do you make a motion? How do you introduce a councilor's order? How do you use Robert's Rules of Order to get things done? When I worked at the Chamber of Commerce, initially, there was a challenge of how can we beautify downtown, and we tried the idea of a window box program. They said it couldn't be done. We got it done. The Gloucester Gift Certificate Program. They said it couldn't be done. We got it done. Sea Arts. They said we couldn't have an organization that supported artists the way that it does. We got it done. When I was on the council, the Zoning Ordinance Review Task Force, we got it done. What I'd like to express is that I can work with each of the candidates here. So if you like a candidate on the ballot, consider me as well as someone who can partner with them to help them get their job done as well. Thank you, Bob, and thank you to the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Jamie.
Thank you. I've been honored to serve the taxpayers, citizens of Gloucester for 6 years or 3 terms. If I'm elected in November, I will continue that. It's very difficult to stand up at City Hall sometimes. The pressure is tremendous. We've been found as a city, but our taxpayers, our citizens have problems. Their concerns need to be addressed. They need to have their voice heard. As a city councilor, I've been a huge advocate at getting the citizens involved. As I've said at the prior debate, this isn't my city. This isn't any of my fellow candidates' city. This is our city. It's everyone's city. If there's anything that we all can do, it's everyone get involved. Power is in numbers. It's been shown. You show up at City Hall or today with Zoom, you show up, you participate with your friends, you go down the street, you get your neighbors involved. This city will operate differently. So I ask everyone to participate in your city's government. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl.
When I got into this race and I was asked to run for my ward, to make a difference, to start off, I said, okay. Adam came along and I stepped aside and I said, Adam, you and me have similar beliefs. You have a family. I have more time to dedicate to listening to the people. I have always opened my door, given it my cell phone, 978-857-3754. You pick it up and you call me. Last night, I said, I've been a champion. Everybody has told me that their voice is not being heard. And I've been out there talking with the elders, the children, the veterans, the charity groups. I worked my butt off last year to make sure that everybody in this town was taken care of to the best of my ability. And I said I would champion to make sure that everybody is heard. Last night, when they had the debate and they had the masks on, I was being messaged by some friends that were deaf, and they felt like they were shut out. And I'd like to thank the chamber and the superintendent for allowing our voices to be heard, as well as your voices to be heard. And I promise you, I will champion so that every voice is heard in this city. If there is a meeting that I'm at and your voice is not heard, I will stay after that meeting. I will listen to you. I will give you my email, my phone number. I am here for you.
Thank you. Robin.
Well, I've been running a precinct level campaign. I too am for the people. I'm a people's candidate. I have people in every precinct who want to bring their issues to me, and I explain to them, and this is so elementary. At-large means that there are 4 candidates on the council who represent the whole city, and they are, and you should, when you lobby your ward councilors to get an issue addressed, a problem solved, a remedy, you need to also lobby your at-large councilors, all of them, and then perhaps between your ward councilor and the 4 at-large, you can form a coalition and together influence the city council and the city to address your concerns in your wards. So I am running at-large for the people. I'm the only woman running. I think we should have representation on the council for women too. So I'm asking you to vote for me on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason.
Thank you. First off, thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event and for 1623 for filming it and live streaming it. I think it's safe to say that everybody up here on this stage tonight loves Gloucester, and we all have our reasons for what we love and why we love it. As I mentioned, when we moved here 21 years ago, we came seeking community. We were purposely seeking a place to raise our children and to develop roots in this community. And I am so grateful to say that we have found that. My children, all 3 went through the Gloucester public school systems, and we have been involved in all manner of the community and found just a real sense of love and connection with so many people. The reason I'm running for city council at this point, after having served 2 terms on the city council in Ward 1, is that I bring leadership and experience at a time when I think that we're looking at a very freshman council. It's going to need a lot of guidance. We have whoever is going to be in the mayor's office is going to need a functioning council that is firing on all 9 cylinders so that we can get the people's jobs done, the people's work done. I do my homework. I work very hard at this. I take it very seriously. I believe very much in accountability, and I believe in integrity, and I think I'm asking for your vote.
Thank you. Tony.
Yes, thank you to the Greater Cape Ann Chamber and Studio 1623 and all of you in the audience for being here tonight to listen to us try to sell ourselves. I love this city, and I've been very privileged to be able to serve in multiple capacities over the last few decades for this city. It's really been a wonderful experience that I hope to continue. One of the things that I've done is with the reorganization of the Harbor Master's office, we listened to people a lot, and we tried to correct many of the issues that they found we were lacking in. You know, we brought on, before most of the city, we brought on online permitting. Customer service was elevated to where now we get rave reviews about our customer service to people who are visiting Gloucester. And they don't just talk about the Harbor Master, they talk about the entire city. And that's a real positive thing for us, and I am very proud of that fact. And I would just appreciate your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And Peter.
Again, thank you everybody for coming out. My name is Peter Canavo. I'm running for Councilor At-Large because I want to be more involved. I can give Gloucester the best opportunity to be the best version it can be. I feel I possess a certain quality, skill set, experience, and swag that will help elevate the council. And at my age, I can and will be the bridge for the younger generation to the older generation. We will collaborate. I am driven, passionate, honest, and fair. I will take accountability as well as call out those that need to take accountability. We are human and we do make mistakes, so let's accept those flaws and learn from them. I will listen to your concerns and take them seriously. I will do what I can to put out the fires, but we have to work together and find some middle ground. I will continue to advocate for affordable housing, responsible development, safer sidewalks for our seniors, and I will make sure your voice is heard. And we will do this together. And I will continue to advocate for our youth and much more. I love this city. So please vote for me on November 2nd. I'm number 2 on the ballot. Hopefully the number 1 choice for you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates. It was really a pleasure and an honor to get to know you a little bit and to speak with you. You're all fantastic. The city is, the voters are going to have tough choices because you're all wonderful candidates. And don't forget to vote on November 2nd. Thank you to all, and thank you to the school to allow us to participate here tonight. And have a good evening. Go Red Sox.